All right. So today we're going to get right to it. So, what is the difference between lead generation and brand advertising? Which one are you doing, or maybe both? And which one should you be doing? Are you doing the right thing right now? We're going to dive in. I'm excited.
Yes, me too. It's really this was one of the things that always early on threw me off course as an agent, right? Because you look around, and you see what everybody else is doing, especially top agents, and it
Right.
looks like the main thing that they're doing is branded advertising. Like maybe they have billboards or TV commercials or bus wraps or what have you. And so or for me back in the day, it was especially print ads, right? Like if you didn't at least have one print ad, you weren't in the game. If you were a big dog, you might have like 3 or 4 back to back to back, right? Maybe
What
the
was the
back cover of the
local? What
magazine.
was the Lake publication?
Hmm?
What was the Lake publication?
So we had the little small real estate guide one, and then we had a local one, which was Lake of the Ozarks real estate guide, and I like that one better just because I like the dudes that owned it. They were cool. Yeah.
Did you do a lot of these poses?
No, I had in the Sears pose, yeah. I mean, trying to put your best foot forward. But what it was is I put up a billboard. I've told this story a number of times, and I just thought that was what you did, and it is what you do. But there's an order in which you do it, and especially if you're not, already number one with a very sizable marketing budget, you have to be very careful because those things don't actually make the phone ring. They make you feel good, right? They make you feel important, and I feel like there's a lot of psychology that really I've never put my finger on or studied as far as being in sales, dealing with rejection, which is inevitable. People say no. People say no to you. You can't take it personal. But I feel like a side effect of that is this desire to be larger than life, faster than would normally be recommended in order to offset your ego, which has sometimes been beat up or bruised. And the thing is, even though they're separate, I thought I shut this off. Even though they're separate, they are tied together because the way in which you lead generate also has an effect on your brand. An example of that would be if you lead generate by calling FISBOs and expireds, right? And you're the one man show, or maybe you got a small team, and you're still doing this. Your brand is not necessarily seen in a positive light when you're calling somebody who doesn't, first of all, know that you're going to call, didn't request the call, doesn't know who you are. I mean, I accidentally, my listing, my personal home, for whatever reason, it expired. I had Julia put it in, right? I hate messing with the MLS stuff, but it expired. So, it's under contract, but I got inundated with calls from agents, even though I'm the
Oh, really?
agent, I'm the listing agent, and I'm the owner. Yeah, this just happened the other day. That's why I was like, oh, this is going to be a great topic, and they're going through the typical, well, are you still considering selling? And I'm like, yeah, actually it's under contract and I'm the agent. Oh. But that whole lead generation model, and it kind of tarnishes your brand when you're the person doing it. Now, I did get a really good call from a really skilled ISA from a larger team here, and she did a fantastic job. I was like, man, I want to hire this gal, steal her away, because she's very personable.
Mhm.
Gracefully bowed out when I explained the situation. Oh, well, it doesn't look like you're going to need any help from us, of course. But yeah, she was really good, and I felt like his model for that actually uplifted his brand versus the other agents who were calling me in a self-serving manner, right, trying to get themselves a listing, because it wasn't him, it was her. She was very personable, and it was more positioned around trying to help you, which obviously I needed the help because I let my own listing expire prematurely while it was under contract. So the difference, in my opinion, there, Jake, and I kind of go on a monologue and then I shut up for a second and let you chime in, is a premeditated thought on what you want to put out into the market and what you want your brand to be.
1000%. And it's just right things, right order, right? Like I get having to start off, and right now inventory is brutal, right? So you see an expired,
Brutal.
jumping all over it, right? Anything you can
Yeah.
do to get your hands on listings right now, like I 1000% get that. But it's just right things, right order. Like at some point you get to the point, like you've got to have a plan on how you can do that if the brand becomes important to you. Like in
The brand.
What?
It should be the most important. And if you don't recognize it, you've got a brand, and it might not be the one that you want. If you're not purposeful and thinking through what you want it to be, it's out there, and it might not be anything close to what you had desired.
Not anything close to it. Because if you do a survey of everybody in your community and say, what do you think about real estate agents, right? Like overwhelmingly, it is not positive.
It's like one notch above car salesman is what they say. Which I love car salesmen. I think they're grinders. No offense to the car salesmen out there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, especially the good ones.
Go get you some. And I just feel like that it's just right things, right order. And like it's always been, best for me to see it as like when you can focus on your brand and you're starting to spend dollars on the big media stuff. Like I saw somebody in one of the real estate groups the other day say, what's everybody's experience with billboards, blah, 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 blah. I'm relatively new. And I was just like, oh, not yet. Right. Like the way I picture it is like, if you're going to put on like a concert, right? Like you want to make sure the stadium's full, right? Like lead generation allows you to fill butts in seats. So when you have a message to talk about, right? Or if it's a church service, whatever, you got to make sure there's actually ears to hear it, to have there be an impact.
Right.
Right.
So, and let's back up. I think that a lot of times people are mistaken with the branded side because they look at business in general and they're like, well, that's what Coca-Cola does. That's what this company does. That's what Tide does. That's what, which is true. The difference is they've got millions and millions of dollars and shareholders' money to be wrong with. And so when they go hire a Madison Avenue, a marketing company, they put these things out into the world, and then they're looking at a quarterly basis to see what the increase or decrease or flat line of their business was, because they have the money and the capital put it out there. As agents, like I don't care how big you are, that's still a mistake, and it should be really your branded advertising should be a side effect of your lead generation as you progress, because like you said, it's putting butts in seats. So if you're getting the lead generation right and you're compelling people to come to you instead of you chasing them, right, which is what direct response marketing does, pay-per-click marketing, everything we prescribe at Market Maker does, then those are the people that you brand yourself to. Because instead of like a big shotgun approach, this is more of a targeted rifle approach. And I think that a lot of people, they don't see the value in this because they don't understand it. And then by the time, they never really figure it out. But the agents who do figure it out, they figure it out almost on accident because they've gotten so focused on the lead generation, turning that lead generation into commission dollars, right? And then what happens is like, oh, I got this brand that's like, I'm walking into places, people know who I am. This is really cool. I'm gonna put up a billboard, right? Because they're like, I want more of that, and that's fine. But it's always that's the order: lead generation first. The branded advertising is a byproduct of the lead generation. And as you get better with that and get that, return on investment, then you can start to look at other places to put that money in order to bolster that brand. And I think that it would be a huge mistake for us to talk about this without talking about a USP in addition, because, if you look at, right. If you look at like the taglines that agents had, I would love to see the first agent that came up with a tagline, like that was pretty innovative then. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Give me a tagline, Jake. What do you got?
Everything I touch turns to soul, baby.
Oh, you didn't do that.
It's my favorite.
That's your favorite. So that was the big the tagline of the independent brokerage where I first started.
Well, okay. So to be fair,
just getting a little dig in there.
That wasn't the first time I saw it. The first time I saw it,
of course not,
the business card I got in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Fair enough. But I mean, it's something that's catchy, hopefully memorable.
Handles to the luggage.
Huh? I
said handles to the luggage. Give somebody something to hold on to.
Unpack that for a second, because I think that's pretty appropriate.
Yeah. So like any time, and this is just like a saying that's gotten, it's used to it in marketing, but it's really having like a concept, but giving somebody something like you just picture luggage and trying to carry it without a handle, right?
Right.
Or you're trying to pull something behind you at the airport and you don't have anything to pull it by. You're just literally carrying it, right? It's a lot harder to carry. You're carrying the exact same thing, but it's just putting a handle on it like a tagline does to you, to where it's easier to remember and easier to take with them, right? So it's easier for like a statement, right? Like there's all kinds of USPs like the guaranteed sale and stuff that just allowed somebody to like, okay, boom, you're that guy, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm assuming in your market, you were running that as a USP. You were probably
Yeah.
no.
I ran multiple. I mean, I tested a lot of them, but the one that I obviously landed on that became my brand was the guaranteed sale. And the thing about that is, it's massive delayed gratification. People think like I'm going to run this thing and then the phone's going to ring off the hook, and it does not. Like it takes years for people to relate you to that. But the cool thing about it is when they do, pardon me, and you have lead generation and it's direct response, and your ISA is calling on behalf of Mike Odo, they'd be like, "Oh, the guaranteed sell guy, like you handles to the luggage, right?"
Yep.
Yeah.
And
so
and like I just saw Tracy post the other day, I think yesterday. So they finished 2020 with
Yep.
like 545 closings, like 168 million in volume or something crazy.
that's phenomenal. Yeah.
Right. So over 5 million in commission, but like talk about like just I've been along with this ride as like a observer from afar, right? But you talk about doing it the right way, where it was like heavy chase, all kinds of lead generation, generate as many leads. Like they've got like over 200,000 leads in their database in the system, right? So they've got this massive audience that they're able to speak to on a regular basis. They have multiple ISAs that make the phone calls, position her the right way, all that good stuff. And then she's got radio, she's got TV, she's got signs, she's got yard signs everywhere, and she's the sell your home for 18% more, right?
Right. That was her USP.
Yeah. And then Tracy Cousineau, that's cousin with an EAU because she has a really hard name to spell.
For sure. But I mean, the most amazing thing about that, especially that database, is like she could lose everything tomorrow, like literally go belly up and bankrupt and like just go back to work and start making
and still be making money.
Even if it was just her by herself, just with that database, just pushing out a message.
She could literally shut down all of her marketing for years and produce hundreds of transactions a year.
She stopped marketing?
No, I'm saying she could. If she wanted,
for sure.
Like if she didn't want to grow anymore and she wanted to just like profit as much as she possibly could without spending a dime, without risking anything, she could literally sell hundreds of houses a year for years just with the asset that she's built with the brand and with all of the leads that she's generated, right? Because
and the brand, and the cool thing about the brand is like nobody can take it away from you. That's my point. You can't bankrupt a brand, right?
Nope.
Like it's in the marketplace. Love them or hate them, the story I always heard about Trump. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, finish that thought.
Was that he went bankrupt and then he was able to get it all back in like a couple of years, fraction of the time, because he had all this brand built with his name and connections now of people he knew, and he was able to get it back in a fraction of the time, which was always a story that stuck with me.
Yeah. And to hammer home a point that you made a little bit ago about the Coke thing, right? Like Coke, Budweiser, like all these people, they're not trying to get people to drink soda for the first time. They're not trying to get people to drink beer for the first time, right?
Right.
They're trying to take a repeat customer that is constantly making decisions when they go to it. Like they are regular shoppers of soda or they are regular shoppers of beer, and they're trying to get them to pick them versus their biggest competitor, right?
Yeah.
So they can see in their overall sales the branding impact, those kinds of advertisements that they pay millions of dollars for. They can see that impact in their overall sales, not in new clients, right? Real estate's different because when you go to select beer now is different because craft beer is like a thing and it's everywhere. So there is more selection there. But like with soda, there's really not that many different brands to choose from, right?
Well,
and it's a daily decision for some people.
I think too, a big part of it is hungry audience, like you go to a fast food joint, right? They got the menu board. You're already there to eat. So now you just got to choose between, right? You already made the choice to come to that particular restaurant. Whereas in real estate, a lot of times the customer doesn't know their level of hunger, for the most part, unless they're in a desperate spot, which isn't really the case right now. I mean, it's a seller's market. And so, they are considering They might not know what their home might be worth right now, right? And a buyer on the other side, they maybe need to buy, but they don't understand, what game they're in at this point with multiple offers, making sure they're pre-approved beforehand. So like, they're kind of getting an appetite, but they need somebody to guide them. Like, hey, I think really this is what you need to be doing, in order to get through the finish line. So that's a very valid point. It's not that they don't know that they need, it's just they don't know what they need and when they need it and who to get it from. And so as far as real estate marketing is concerned, it's on the lead gen side, it's compelling them to take action in a way that they otherwise wouldn't have, to help them facilitate the process naturally that they don't even know. They don't know the process. They don't know where they're at in the process. I don't care how many times they bought a home. Things always change, I mean, even for me, like I'm closing deals and they got new forms, new this, new that, I'm like, wow, when did this come about? Oh, we just started doing that 2 months ago. Really? And I didn't know,
Mm-hmm.
so it's just constantly a evolving thing. And so,
I'm gonna give something actionable for everybody that correlates to what we're talking about. But yes. I love to get feedback on how this goes. But considering the market, and this is just because I know how it is in stories, and like my neighbor down the street selling for way over what our houses have been going for in our neighborhood for the last, I don't even 6 months. Yeah. So like price increase is like in December was almost 10% nationwide. Like highest since 2014 in a single month, all this stuff, right? Like it is bonkers right now. But to take advantage of if you've done lead generation, right, and you have a database, it doesn't need to be 200,000 people plus, right?
No, like mine was 10% of that. I got up to 20,000.
Right. It can be 1,000. It can be a couple thousand. It can be a couple hundred. It doesn't even matter. But the only way that it's worth any amount of money to you, and it should be worth like it should be the most worthy asset you own probably. But
in your business.
Yes. Yeah. But what is directly correlated with how much it's worth to you is how much you communicate with it, right? So if you do not communicate with your list, you should look at it like your list, your baby. If you do not communicate with your leads on a regular basis, you have completely missed the mark, right? So start immediately communicating. But right now, with the market as crazy as it is, you should write an email or a message or a text or whatever to these people and tell them about something that has sold in your community lately for way more than you ever thought it was going to sell for, how quickly it sold, and let them know if they were ever thinking about selling, like now is the time. So if you want to know how much you could get for your house in today's market, because it was probably dramatically increased in the last 30 to 60 days, I can give you an up-to-minute idea of what it would sell for in today's market. Just hit me back, right? Like you should send a message like that to every single person in your database, probably a follow-up email afterwards to say, hey, I didn't know if you saw this, but really important. If you were ever thinking about it, you should do this. And it will do two things. One, it will communicate to the leads that you've done, that you've spent money on, that you've spent time on, all that good stuff. But two, just letting them know information like that will also lift your brand, because it's just one more point that you're lifting yourself up to be like the expert in your market.
Expert. Yep, for sure. And just to drive that home, like it doesn't have to be fancy, and I wouldn't even put necessarily what's called a name merge field. It would just be, hey there, Mike Odo here, and just text, like really short, sweet, to the point, just like you'd send to a friend. And if you'd like to know, how crazy this market is and where your house sits in it, just reply back to this email. And it doesn't even have to be high tech. I mean, just literally when they reply back, make sure you call them, reach out to them, right? Don't just ignore it. This is the same as somebody calling you on the phone and saying, hey, Fred, I was thinking about, what my house might be worth. Can you tell me, But I just sold a house, Jake, from that same premise, right? So I called my appraiser to get him out there to appraise it, to refi it. And he said, Mike, right now is the craziest time ever. He said, if you ever thought about selling, and he has no skin in the game, he said, now would be the time. And I was like, well, what do you think I could get? And he was giving me examples. And I said, well, holy cow, if that's really where it's at, I'll give it a shot, And I sold it, I sold it. And then when I sold it, I was like, damn, did I really even want to sell it? Like, is this the right decision?
Have you officially agreed?
Yeah. I signed. Yep.
Hey.
Yeah. And
That was a few years coming, right?
Huh?
When's the first time you put that on the market?
End of November, but it's high end,
Right.
and so it's not as fast a moving.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, I mean, but it like you've had it on the market before, but it literally is crazy how much over people are going and how quick and you should take advantage, right? Like you've got this time spot, but it is all about communicating and let people know, because like I feel like a lot of people that are in the real estate space, because like I'm not a real estate agent, but the next door, the guy who's I'm buddies with, that's next door to the house in our neighborhood that got put on the market on Friday and was under contract on Saturday, was like when the sign went in the yard, he immediately texted me all these questions. Like, what do you think the price is going to be? Do you have access to the MLS? When's it going to go on the market? Blah, 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 blah.
Is your neighbor asking you?
Yeah. He has no interest in selling, right? But he was asking me just because we've had a lot of conversations about what I do. So he doesn't reach out to a real estate agent. He reaches out to me because he thinks that I'm the expert in it, even though I'm really not in our neighborhood. Like I pay attention a little bit, but I'm just a friendly neighbor, right?
Yeah.
I'm not an actual paid professional that focuses on that.
Right. But he still is interested. And here's the thing, like some people would be like, well, I don't want to waste my time if they don't want to sell. Look, you're creating a relationship, right?
Exactly.
And you're putting yourself in the position of, if they need real estate information, they come to you. And that's part of a branded campaign, right? That's part of your branding. And I just wanted to recap on this because I feel like we kind of popcorn all over the place. But the main thing, I don't care if it's from FSBOs or expires, you have to consider your brand in your lead generation and how you want people to feel about you, right? And so we always suggest having somebody else make those calls. But the lead gen first, branding with those people who have identified themselves second, right? That's the key. That's the goal. And that's how you build your brand as you just naturally sell real estate, right?
Yep.
You sell real estate, you focus on that first. You focus on getting the deals, focus on getting the conversions, you focus on getting the leads, and then you build your brand with those people, and those people who have sold through you. You want to make sure that you have a mechanism in place to turn them into repeat and referral customers, so that and make them into what we call raving fans, right? So if somebody's asking about real estate, they're going to be like, hey, I had a really good experience with this person. I mean, for years I had calls. Even after I sold, it was like, hey, is there anybody that operates like you? I'm in Alabama. Can you help me find somebody? I'm like, I'm sorry, that's not how real estate works. I can try, but it's not going to be the exact same.
Yeah, but even now, I'll go with you somewhere in the Lake of the Ozarks, and people be, Mike, how's real estate? How's the market? You know what I mean? Like
yeah, I know.
People there, you are an expert.
The thing is, I feel like when people ask me, like I had a gal, I don't know, maybe summer before last, the Four Seasons police come over because I had a friend bent over and he had his dog out. And so she came because the neighbors didn't like the dog being chained to the tree or wherever he put him. I didn't even see. And she's like, oh, I didn't know it was you. How you been? How's real estate? And I'm like, you really think I'm that much of a slacker? Like, you haven't seen a sign for so long. You think like I just like decided to decrease my exposure and anyway.
But a lot of times they don't even notice. But you were like it's frequency, like people in the advertising world, everything's about recency and frequency, right? Like you hit so much frequency for so long that recency it can still be a while and it still has an impact on people, right? Yeah. But that's where I feel like a lot of people mess up is it's not frequent enough and not recent enough, right? And you have that opportunity every single day to communicate with them, especially in 2021.
Consistency is hard too. Like, we all got on this podcast tangent about the same time. You and I, Reese, Al, who else? Our boy up there with the football guy.
Schumacher,
thank you. And like, who else? I mean, like several people, and all of them fizzled out. Like, nobody continued to be consistent. And it's not easy. Like, it's not easy for me every Wednesday. Like, I got stuff to do sometimes. Today I had another little, spurt of inspiration like I did last week. I wanted to record another video. And I'm like, we gotta stay consistent, But that's what it takes. Huh?
How many years have we been doing this? Like 2?
I don't know. I don't even know how many episodes there are, but I know it's a lot. And I know that we ain't stopping. You know what I
No.
mean? Like, it's good to put value out in the world and continue to communicate with your potential and current and future and past clients. I mean, that's just, it is what it is. But to really drive that point home, I just want to say it's much cheaper to brand yourself with the leads that you've already generated, the people who have already raised their hand, than it is to try to brand yourself to an entire city or an entire, a suburb. It's much easier to do that. And branding yourself with the city and with the suburb will come as you scale naturally. Branding yourself with the leads that you generate, and the leads that you generate should be held accountable to a return on investment. Pardon me, so that you're making money off of that advertising. You're not just doing it to feel good.
And it's just early and often, you know what I mean?
Yes.
You stay in communication with them. And when you have the branding and the USP, especially, you're giving them handles to the luggage, but like people see, I saw some stat that the average American sees how many advertisements a day.
Oh, it's inundated. So we ignore them now because
Yeah.
it's a protection mechanism. We have to.
It's insane.
Because we can't stay sane if we
No.
paid attention to them all.
Nope.
Yeah.
It is absolutely bonkers between driving and being out and being on Facebook and Instagram and everything else. You see so many different advertisements every single day, some in plain sight, some not. And some things are penetrating your subconscious, but the ones that are consistent are the ones that will actually give you those handles to the luggage, right? And
Yeah.
like, you're that guy, right?
Well,
It's
yeah,
just
and
frequency.
the handles of the luggage are I mean, like the Domino's USP, which I know we beat to death. Everybody does, but they're not talking about the fresh ingredient. They weren't, right, when they were building that empire. The fresh ingredients, the amount of time that they take to make a pizza, the dough being made from scratch, right? Like all of the things that have to go into that pie. They're just giving the people what they want, hot, fresh to your door in 30 minutes, or it's free, right? So like that was the handles to that luggage.
Yep.
Well, what's hot, fresh, and to your door? Well, pizza, obviously. Well, is it good pizza? Well, why don't you try it? It takes 30 minutes, I mean, they try it. Oh, yeah, pizza's good. It's acceptable. And this is fast. So, like, let's use this, right? And that's the handles to the luggage. And if you don't know about unique selling propositions, USPs, I would highly recommend you Google those, do some research on them. You could chime in here. We've done videos on multiple USPs in the past, how to create them, how to implement them, what the term should be, what to look out for, right? And, it should be something instead of a tagline, right? Like everything I touch turns to sold. Something that gives the consumer a specific benefit, the biggest promise that you can make and actually keep, and has to be in terms of what they want. So what do they want? Well, if they're looking to buy, they want to find as many homes that match what they're looking for, and they want to obviously get the best deal, right? They want to beat other buyers to the hottest listing. They want to get the best price. If they're looking to sell, they want it fast with the least amount of hassle and for the most amount of money for them. So that'll give you some things to think on. Hopefully we added value to your day. Take us away, Jake.
As we always say in Market Maker, you are always just one pre-position appointment away.
Every day. Oh, and I forgot.
Yeah.
If you want some help with this stuff, go to marketmakercall.com.
We can do it all for you.
Yeah, that's right.